Welcome inside another episode of SEC State of Mind presented by FanDuel. I'm Taylor Davis. He is Jason Campbell, rocking the specs today. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's been a long football season, and if you work in media, you spend a lot of time looking at your laptop, and Jason and I are both at the tail end of all of this madness, but we are pumped to break down a little playoff for you. We've got 4 SEC teams that will be playing this weekend to kick off the college football playoffs. So we're going to give you previews of all of those, kind of give you a little taste of what's to come in a very exciting bracket, though it was riddled with some drama. I do think that there are going to be some really compelling matchups even as early as Friday night. So we're going to get you set for all of that. J-Cam, obviously very active amongst the NIL space and with the Auburn football program, which is one of several SEC programs that are in the midst of some change right now. And with that comes transfer portal moves. It comes staff creation, just kind of talk to me a little bit about what's going on right now for the teams that aren't preparing for a playoff game.
Yeah, the teams that's not preparing for a playoff game, it's a whirlwind, right? You got everybody trying to entertain your kids. They're calling them, trying to get them to jump in the portal, basically saying a lot of things to the kids that are not true, first and foremost. But these are still 18 to 23-year-old, most part. And a lot of them listen to anything that's said to them. And I've told them if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is.
Yeah.
If someone can't put something to pen to paper, then don't listen to it. Because the other thing kids have to understand too, Taylor, is more money doesn't mean better place.
Yeah.
The grass is not always greener on the other side. If you're in a position and you're excelling and you're getting better, then sometimes you have to turn down a little bit more to gain a lot.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you stay in the same system, you get a year better, all of a sudden your draft stock improves. But if you go somewhere else, you got to learn a new coach, you got to learn a new town, you got to learn new teammates, you got to learn a new system. There's a lot of newness, especially if I have one season left. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. But you chase the money now, you chase the money for the rest of your life. And I understand that money is an asset, and everyone wants to make more money, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money, but more money doesn't always mean the best scenario. And sometimes you can chase more money in the beginning, but it can cost you a lot more because you end up in a situation where your talents are not being able to be seen because you was already in a good place, but you chose to leave anyways. A lot of people don't realize how many kids are in the portal. I was just looking yesterday. There's a ton of kids going to portal. It's not that many jobs open like that.
Right.
So you better be careful when you go into the portal that you better have a landing spot. And a lot of these guys won't find that out till January 2nd.
Yeah. Which is so crazy. It's such a you said whirlwind, and I would agree with that. Every time I'm opening, my phone, whether it's prepping for the podcast or my bowl game or whatever, there's new news about someone going here, someone going there, and it's like, gosh, everything that you just spent an entire year getting acclimated to, you're now throwing into the abyss and starting over. And for some, it will be the right thing, but for some, it won't. And so we say it every year. It's not a one size fits all method. And, then there's guys like TJ Finley who are hitting the portal for the 6th time. So we've got an abuse of the system happening for sure. But then you think of guys like even Bo Nix, very close to home, but, it worked for him. And he certainly became his best at Oregon, not Auburn. So a lot of impactful ones that will continue to follow in the offseason. One of the biggest broke yesterday. I want to get your take on it. DJ Lagway has entered the portal and claims that he wanted to stay at Florida. That was his intention. I don't know that Coach Sumrall was willing to confirm everything to him, that it was for sure the job was going to be his. Is he bringing in Darian Mensah, who he initially recruited and had with him at Tulane? He went to Duke. Well, now his former head coach is at a place like Florida, and that kid's a stud. I've covered him. Darian Mensah is a great freaking quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sumrall's going, hey, I may bring a guy and you're going to have to battle. We don't know the ins and outs of that conversation. That's 100% speculation, but there's already rumors. Does DJ try and get to LSU with Lane? I mean, the drama is definitely going to continue this offseason. Were you surprised to hear that DJ Lagway hit the portal already? Because he was at the press conference for John Sumrall's introduction. He was very forward facing. So I was kind of surprised that this hit the headlines so quickly.
Some guys hit the portal because they're told to go to the portal.
By who?
By the staff. So
Okay.
when you get a new staff, their first thing they're going to do is dissect the roster, look at the guys that are on the roster, and see if they need to create space for maybe guys that they want to bring in or guys they want to get in the transfer portals to fill these positions. You think about DJ Lagway being a quarterback, right? So I'm sure the conversation went a little like this, where they sat down in the room and Coach Sumrall probably told DJ Lagway, hey, we watch your film. You know, we can't guarantee you a starting job.
Right.
And we're probably going to bring in, you know, a quarterback to challenge you and compete against you for the job. And at that point in time, DJ probably felt like, well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna hit the transfer portal and see what else is out there for me. These
Yeah.
guys got to understand that this is a competition game now. It doesn't matter where you go; it's gonna be competition.
Yeah.
You can't tell a coach not to bring someone. You can't tell a coach that, you know, oh yeah, come here, and all of a sudden it's your job. That's a lie
Right.
too, because they're always looking to fill those rooms with quarterbacks because one is not enough.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if one gets hurt? You got to
Yeah.
have another one to be able to continue to try to push. So people are trying to get solid quarterbacks. And you see Shamley's trying to get another year. If he gets another
Yeah.
year, he's going to LSU. You know, there's talks of
Oh
Sam
my
Levitt.
gosh.
There's talks of Sam Levitt going to LSU.
Yeah.
And you get Sorsby from Cincinnati, who's in the portal.
Yep.
He's going to be highly sought after. So
Good.
there's a lot of quarterbacks in the portal. And it's not so sure that, oh, because you was a 5-star out of high school or you was a dual threat quarterback, that they're just going to guarantee you a position somewhere. You got to go and
Totally.
earn it nowadays. And it's competition. And
Yes.
that's what these guys got to understand. If you want to play football for a long time, you better get used to it, because to keep a job in the National Football League is a daily competition.
Right.
You better be able to dive into your playbook. And let's be honest, Taylor, DJ didn't have a great year last year.
That's what I was going to say. Like, you're not in a position to demand anything.
Right. He can't demand that he be the starter. He has 16
Right.
touchdowns with 14 interceptions. And I watched some of the games. It wasn't just coaching. Like, he missed a lot of throws.
Yeah.
So he has to take ownership as well to want to get better. And he probably will in a different system.
Yeah.
But they don't have a reason to just guarantee you the job, because they didn't see enough last year on the eye test to say it's your job. Now, you may win it, but it's not your job. We're not handing it to you.
Totally agree. I was surprised on that. And then obviously the reports start coming out that his conversation with Sumrall didn't go very well, whether it was monetary. And there's also that element, Jay, that they can hit the portal and it is kind of a bargaining chip, and they do end up staying where they are. I'm not saying that that's for sure, but very few cases, because I would feel very slighted if I was the university and you were trying to play that cat and mouse game. But it's a possibility these days, and it's just it's chaos. But also big news. I don't know if it's official, but it was being reported yesterday that Lenore Sellers is close to finalizing a deal. Maybe it is final as of Tuesday, December 16th, but reports were coming out from On3, very reliable sources, that Lenore Sellers was finalizing a deal to remain at South Carolina. And I'm not going to lie, I did not expect that. That really surprised me. I was very sure that he was at least going to hit the portal if he didn't declare for the draft. But whatever that they are able to facilitate for him, I think it's huge for Shane Beamer, because not to get too far ahead of things, but I think everyone is aware that if things don't start clicking early next season at South Carolina, a change will have to happen. There were a lot of people that were surprised that Shane Beamer remained the head coach at the end of the year. So many of their games really kind of felt like Auburn's season, where right there at the end, down to the wire, you blow a 30-point lead to Texas A&M, just debilitating losses. I think the offensive coordinator was a big piece of that. Mike Shula was a disaster there at that position. They have already hired Kendall Briles from TCU to take over as offensive coordinator, and I guess their first order of business was to try and get a deal together to keep Lenore Sellers. I think that would be huge for them and for Shane Beamer's future in Columbia.
That was their biggest recruit, right? Was to
Yeah.
take the quarterback. Now, Lenore Sellers got to do some things better as well, right? When
Yeah.
the game's on the line, got to protect the football. all those things. Got to make the throws.
Hmm.
Um, I think he's a real talent at this level, and their biggest recruit they got back.
Yeah.
So I think the offensive coordinator that they went and got in Kendall Briles was a big reason of that. I
Yeah,
imagine as soon as he got the job, his first phone call was to the Lenore Sellers,
for sure.
and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Why change if you feel like you don't have to relearn everything? So
Yeah.
if Lenore Sellers would have left to go to Miami, or he would have left to go somewhere else other than
Oregon.
the National Football League or Oregon,
Hmm.
again, you got to build chemistry with your receivers. You got to build chemistry with your O line. Again, you got to learn a new place.
Yeah.
So you don't walk into the stadium the same way. Things are different. Those little things matter. So
Yes.
the fact that he's like, you know what? The only change I got to make is learning Kendall Brow's offense. So I can
Bet.
eliminate all the other things. Now I can stay focused a lot more. I'm from South Carolina. I'm happy. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm at home. When I finish playing the game of football and I want to come back and do something, the door will be open at South Carolina for me to come back and have an impact on the university. So
Yeah.
he's thinking long term, and I commend him for that.
Me
You
too.
don't know how long you're gonna play the National Football League. You don't know how
Hmm.
long you're gonna play this game, but you got to start setting up your relationships beyond that. A lot of
Yeah.
kids are going to lose that in the portal. They're going to go chase these 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 lies, or they're going to go chase these scenarios for the wrong reasons without sitting down and going through all the pros and cons. And they're going to look back and say, dang, I wish I'd have stayed put.
Right.
And then some of them, they need to go challenge and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's better opportunities for them. And that's a reason for
Very
that.
true.
So I see both sides, but Lenore Sellers, that was a good decision.
I think so too.
Changing one thing. So uh good for South Carolina. I think they'll be better next year.
They have to be.
And I think his brother's being there too plays a role
Yeah.
in that, right? You know, his brother plays receiver, and the chemistry that they both have, but being home and close to home, it does matter post career.
I agree. And I also think that everyone still sees so much potential, and a lot of it does come to fruition. At times this year he seemed a little inconsistent, but he was also basically the entire offense, and it was not suitable for anybody. But I think that there's a lot of upside for him to stay at South Carolina instead of starting over. And I've covered him as well, and his personality is very chill. I mean, one of the most laid back, not trying to be in the spotlight, doing all the crazy stuff. Like he obviously wants to make his money, don't get me wrong, but he wants to put his head down and be efficient at his game. And so I don't think that, him avoiding the madness of a bidding war is out of character. Like, it kind of makes sense knowing what I know about him. But another program that's going to
Shows
have
his
a new
maturity.
quarter.
My bad. I
Sorry.
was gonna say it shows his maturity.
Yeah.
You know,
He is that. He
little
is.
things without saying, you know what, let me jump in the portal and try to push the envelope just to see. And then if I don't like it, then I come back.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
what's going to happen, Taylor, is university is going to start saying, okay, if you want to hit the portal, then the relationship is done. Because
Yeah.
at that point in time, you're playing these games, or you're telling us we're not good enough. So good luck with going out there swimming and hope you find shore. You know,
Yes.
so that's what's going to start happening, because it can't be you keep the university hostage while you make your decision,
Yes.
right? Coaches have to be able to make decisions on who's on the roster and be able to feel out, okay, I got this guy on the roster. So the portal's gonna come fast, and it's gonna be speed dated.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be a lot of time to get to know portal guys and everything. So you want to do as much as you can to retain your roster. But if your roster is not trying to, you know, make a decision now and want to try to do things their way to keep you on hostage, then at some point in time you're gonna have to make a decision. Say, hey, either you're in or you're out,
Right.
and we got moves we got to make and go make decisions. So good job of
Totally.
him from a maturity standpoint of saying, let's just get this done. This is where I want to be. I don't want to play
Yeah.
any games. Let's just get it done.
And focus forward. I agree, because they know they got to hit the ground running. Like, I feel like the day after the Clemson game, Shane Beamer started everything. He was probably already thinking about it, even though a coach will love to tell you, we're not thinking any pass today. Well, they might have been, because this year was a total wash, and they know what's on the line for next season. And Lenoris is a big piece of that. Another program that is going to see a very different face, aura, energy, everything at the quarterback position is Vanderbilt, with Diego Pavia more than likely being done. I mean, he shut down rumors earlier this season that he was trying to file against the NCAA for a seventh year. He shut that down and said, no, this is it for me. But you can't ever put anything past Diego Pavia. So, but all expectations that he will be playing his final game in a couple weeks in the ReliaQuest Bowl down in Tampa on New Year's Eve against Iowa. I will be on the call for that game. Very excited about that. But Vanderbilt got one of the biggest recruits in history, five-star quarterback Jared Curtis. On early signing day, he actually flipped from Georgia to head to Vanderbilt. And it's a sign of what we have wondered. What will Vandy be after Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers and this crew from New Mexico State that they brought in? What will they be after that? Who will they be after that? And how does Clark Lee continue this momentum that they've created around Vanderbilt? Was it enough to change the perception of recruits? Like, I think it's changed the perception nationally, but do players really want to see their college ball played in Nashville? And I think this is a sign of good things to come, and excited to see what they're able to do. Clark Lee, obviously one of the coaches that signed an extension, was part of the conversation in the coaching carousel. But I bring this up because the Heisman Award was announced this past weekend. Diego Pavia, being one of the 4 finalists, was ultimately second in results. But Indiana's Fernando Mendoza is this year's Heisman winner. Huge congratulations to him. I have covered him before, and he is a gem of a human being. And his mom has MS and attends as many of his games as she possibly can. He does a lot of community work, raising money for MS foundations, and is just an incredible guy. So huge congratulations to Mendoza. Diego didn't necessarily respond the best way. And so just wanted to kind of open up that conversation, not to bash the kid, but, I think that we are also, it plays right into this kind of world and culture that we've created. These guys are making so much money. They have all the power. So him being in a club and buying a sign and bottle service that says F Indiana, I apologize, but that's what it said, and flipping off the camera, like, gone are the days where they're not going to bench him in the bowl game. Are you kidding? Like, it's just, there's such a shift in culture around all of this because the players have the power. And I think it does go back to, you got to have the right people that are making sure that with all of the opportunities and resources you're now being given, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think that piece of it still needs to be in play. Just kind of your thoughts, on the Heisman, Fernando Mendoza's season. Great season that's not done yet. And some of the maybe character elements that still need to be at play for these kids in college ball.
Yeah, Mendoza winning the Heisman. I thought he won it in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, for sure.
Ohio State to win that football game, and how he stood in there after taking a big hit early in the ball game, showed his toughness and his will to win, right? Everyone wanted to see this team beat a really good football team, and they beat the number 1 team, Ohio State, at the time, in the biggest stage the conference championship game. So didn't know the part about his mom. I know that's got to be a tough deal for him carrying that weight as well while he's playing. So that makes me like him even more.
Totally.
Just because and that what's on his shoulders, and as well while he's trying to compete and help this team. And a shout out to his coach, cousin Natty, for being able to find talent, mix it all together,
Never forget,
and get his team to the championship and the Big Ten, and now they're number 1 in the playoffs. So this team, as they exemplify everything about a team, which is hard to find nowadays because so many kids make everything individual because of money, right? And we've got to continue to teach these kids that you don't get anywhere that you want to get to on your own. You got to have people around you to help you, and people around you to be able to be in your corner. And you saw his offensive lineman at the ceremony after he had won, how they would just all embracing him, jumping up on him and stuff. Like,
so sweet.
That shows the person and the character of Mendoza, right? So he don't have to say it; it shows through his teammates. When your teammates, when your peers are your biggest supporters, that tells me who you are. When I think about the overall Diego Pavia handling it, it shows that there are some things he has to mature on.
Agreed.
He hasn't been defeated as much because he's used to wearing the chip on his shoulder that everyone told me I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that because I'm undersized. And so
Yes.
he's had this fight with him. It's kind of why you admire him a little bit in the way he
Mhm.
plays, because he plays with the chip on his shoulder. All right, he brings this excitement, but he brings this "I'm not stepping down to no one" mentality,
Yeah.
and that's what Vanderbilt needed, right? So
For
you saw a
sure.
guy named Jared Curtis, who's from Nashville area, right? A highly recruit, flipping back to Vanderbilt. Once
Yeah.
Clark Lee got the extension, it shows stability. So then the kid was
Agreed.
like, "Hey, I want to go there. I know his agent." So his
Mhm.
agent gonna put the kid in stability. And
Mm.
so the kid end up staying going to Nashville. I thought that was great for him. But then
Yeah.
you talk about he flip a receiver from Alabama to come to Vanderbilt with him.
That's
So
crazy.
Vanderbilt is gonna still be on the up and up.
Agreed.
Now, there's something now. Pavia does have a lot to do with that because his mentality to engage the locker room. He made guys
Sure.
believe they could achieve a lot more than what people say,
For sure.
and that's the type of leadership. Now he didn't handle this defeat well. And I don't even call it defeat. Like to me, dude, you're sitting in New York as a Heisman
Yes.
finalist. You
One
have
of 4.
you have won. I wish
Yes.
I could have. I finished seventh, so I couldn't get. I didn't get a chance to go. I was number 7. They don't take 7. They only took 4. And
You're not
so
still salty at all.
he gets the opportunity to sit there and be national televised and
Yeah.
still appreciated for your hard work. So,
Agreed.
the whole thing in the club and all that, he's gonna learn from that. Like I said, that's just a little lack of maturity on that part, but
Yeah.
he'll learn from that. And I'm sure Vanderbilt is probably just gonna have a conversation with him. And most things, you would probably fine the kid a little bit, financially, just a little, to understand, hey, you can't do that. You're still embracing the Vanderbilt brand. So kids have
You
to,
represent us.
yeah. So kids have to understand that when you start making money from a company or
Mhm.
university or professional ball, you are now tied yourself to this brand who is paying you.
Yeah.
So there are consequences to your actions, but there are also standards that must be upheld. So if you are out in
Great
public or
point.
you're on social media or you're doing all these different things, if you're getting paid good money to do your job, you also have to do the right things off the field to keep the standard
Yep.
of your pay. And that's a job. That's any
Yes.
job. And a lot of these guys don't want to do that. They think, oh, I can just do what I want to do. But if you want to do what you want to do, don't ask for the money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have a job. This is your job.
Yeah.
And people that are paying you, you have to abide by certain standards and
Mhm.
rules and regulations. You don't just get to do what you want to do and receive what you want to receive. Like,
Yeah.
that's biblical.
Yeah. No,
You know what I'm saying? So,
literally.
yeah, like on this earth, you just okay, you can choose to do what you want to do, but there's consequences to your actions.
100%. And you're
It's just,
only hindering yourself in the long run.
all right,
I
you
can
hurt
tell you that because even something like Diego Pavia, you think those NFL GMs aren't noticing stuff like this? Like, you think it's only right now adjacent. It's not true. It has implications on your future. Like, you've told me so many times at the combine, those interviews are very important for
Mhm.
these NFL brands because they know they have to basically adopt your actions as well. And so little indicators like this, you may be a spark plug on the field, but not every GM is going to want to have to put up with this kind of stuff.
Oh, most definitely. And they would dig deep. Like they would one thing they're gonna love about the kid is his nationess, right?
Yeah.
His desire to will to win. That's what the game's about. They're gonna like that. So he'll probably have an opportunity to make someone's roster off of that
Mhm.
part.
Mhm.
But like you said, it's gonna have to be the right franchise with the locker room that can adapt to that.
Yep.
The first people I think about maybe the Raiders or somebody,
Mhm.
someone that used to be known for, silver and black bad boys,
Yeah.
maybe he can fit their locker room a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a Steelers locker room a little bit. But, for the most part, they do study. They study everything that you do. And
Right.
a lot of guys that are going in the transfer portal, Taylor, they're not even looking at their grades. Some of these kids are ineligible. Like you still got classes you got to
Crazy.
pass the finish out before you even go in the portal. What happens if you don't pass these classes? Like, it's just your credits may not translate.
Yeah.
So now you're setting yourself behind in graduation. So I remember years ago We try to get this kid out of Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
Auburn. This is Stanford we're talking about.
Right.
Auburn could not accept all his credits. let,
Why?
let that sink in.
Yeah.
At Stanford, I said,
Wow.
and you're talking about one of the highest of educations that you can possibly get.
Yeah.
So some of the kids' credits would not transfer to Auburn. So
Wow.
we couldn't get the kid. And the kid wanted to come so bad.
That's
But
crazy.
the credits wouldn't transfer, and graduation was very important to go ahead and finish because he only had like a couple classes left.
Yeah.
So,
That's part of it.
part of it.
Craziness indeed. Well, yeah, I think that, Diego Pavia, I have spoken so many times this season about how much I have enjoyed watching him, covering him, what he has brought to Vanderbilt. I mean, like, I don't know that there will ever be a more impactful player for Vanderbilt as a program than Diego Pavia. And so I give so much credit to that. But I don't want him to become his own worst enemy. You know what I mean? Like, I think so much of that, like, pit bull fighter mentality has served him so well, but if it becomes at the expense of your sportsmanship, there's a very fine line in being a real competitor and you're powering through maybe some things that are working against you and being a jerk. Like it can be a very fine line, and I would hate to see that. And also, he's always said that he sees so much of himself in like Johnny Manziel, and I think there is such a parallel. But like Johnny Manziel took a very deep spiral, so you just got to be careful to not let it get the best of you. And I would hate to see that, but I think this was a wake up call for him too, because he got absolutely annihilated after all of this. Not just the sign in the club, he also posted on his story basically like F F F.
Taylor's microphone just went silent because they thought she was saying some words, and we know Taylor wasn't saying those words. But so people don't.
You guys, I would never cuss on this show other than like occasional ones, but not one that big. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the college football playoff first round happening this weekend. We will start with the Friday night game kicking off all the action. One of two rematches, I guess, from this season. Alabama versus Oklahoma. Obviously, Oklahoma won the last matchup in the regular season 23-21. However, Alabama outgained Oklahoma in that game by 194 yards. A big piece of it were the Alabama turnovers. 3 total on the night. They were really ineffective in the red zone. That really got them. But I think that everyone has recognized, obviously, the SEC championship, which was pretty bad for Alabama. They didn't look efficient against Auburn. They lost to Oklahoma. They have not put up over 30 points against a Power 4 opponent since October 18th. This has been an offense that just hit a wall halfway through the season. And it's not entirely, known if it is Ty Simpson fully healthy. That offensive line has been terrible in protection. Obviously, Jam Miller got hurt in the Auburn game, had to sit out of the SEC championship. But prior to the Auburn game, Alabama couldn't run the ball. They have been very ineffective in the ground game. So there's been so many elements to this offense down the stretch that really made you scratch your head. And again, they were able to move the ball the last, meeting with Oklahoma. They just could not capitalize once they got in the red zone, and they weren't protecting the ball. 3 turnovers. I think that really makes the difference. But Oklahoma is just 108th in the nation in rushing yards per play. So they have also not been the most efficient in the ground game either. And Bama's defense has been pretty efficient when the offense has sputtered. I think some of those points are what determined this game. I think that if Alabama can protect Ty Simpson and he can get back to running an efficient pass attack, I think that there are opportunities for them there. You've got to protect the ball, which was the indicator in the last one. And Jam Miller should be back. He has been operating with the running backs, running with the ones in practice this week. So all expectations that he will be available, which would be a huge addition to them. But Oklahoma got to rest, and Alabama played a Georgia team. So if anyone was kind of dinged up other than Jam Miller, it was not the easiest one to get back. Oklahoma is coming in rested. They were able to get a little bit healthier. We know that John Mateer has not looked his most efficient ever since, that surgery he had midseason as well. So I do anticipate this one being very close. So do our friends at FanDuel. They have Alabama by 1.5 points, the over-under set at 40.5. I'm shocked by this because in the bracket conversation, I did not feel like Alabama was a strong enough team to be in the playoff. I get it based on the metrics that we have right now, although it didn't apply to BYU, but that's a different conversation I'm not getting into. Not penalizing a team for playing in a conference championship, yada, yada, yada. Their strength of schedule, very compelling as opposed to BYU. All of that said, I think I agree with FanDuel, and I think I'm picking Bama, and I don't know why. Tell me everything, Jason. Talk me out of it.
Yeah, because you got on burgundy nails, and that's
They're purple.
crimson tie colors over there.
Get out of here.
But I'm gonna say I'm gonna plead the difference and say it's Christmas. So
okay, there you go.
Green
They're purple.
on. There you go.
I can't. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, Alabama at 1.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
40.5 over under. So they're anticipating pretty much a low scoring game.
Yeah. Well, the first one was.
You're talking about two defenses. Alabama during the regular season wasn't giving up more than 16 points a game on defense. And then you talk about an Oklahoma defense that has pass rushers led by R. Mason Jr. You talk about a defense that's built under Venables for playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to Mateer and Ty Simpson. And the thing about being off so long, though, Taylor, it can also hurt you.
That's
because
true.
They missed the SEC. Oklahoma didn't play in the SEC championship. And then there was a whole nother week that went by.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 weeks before they actually play a game. You saw Auburn go through this when they played Alabama for Ashton Daniels, where Ashton Daniels missed the Mercer game because he was redshirted.
Yep.
So the first time he played again was the Alabama game, which was 3 weeks from the time they played Vanderbilt.
Right, because they also had a bye week.
Right, had a bye week. And you saw how the offense sputtered in the beginning, and it took some time before they caught their rhythm.
It's a good point.
Oklahoma, you cannot come into this ball game and trying to find your way. Like, you got to come out and try to be quick, be explosive. You got to put pressure on Bama. If Bama gets ahead in this ball game, it makes it tough. It makes it tough on Oklahoma because now they have the confidence. You don't want them to take the air out of your stadium. You get home field advantage. It's a playoff game. Mm-hmm. You got to come out. You got to take the fight to them if you're Oklahoma, and you need to score first. But you're talking about two veteran quarterbacks, right? Both hasn't had this experience, though, in the playoffs. So it's both first-time experience in the playoffs. And there's going to be some nerves. There's going to be some excitement. But whoever can handle their nerves early in this ball game by protecting the ball but still being aggressive, going to get their team an opportunity to win. Alabama hasn't played good the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I just don't think you get to the playoffs and you just flip the switch. I just don't think so. I think going to the playoffs, even guys in the National Football League, it's always the teams that get hot towards the end.
Right time. Yeah.
Or the teams you got to be careful for, right? So in this situation, Oklahoma played better down the stretch than Alabama did. So I'm going to have to go with Oklahoma at home.
Wow. I like it. I think that for Oklahoma, a lot of them were narrow. Even to close the regular season, they had to squeak one out against LSU, and LSU was literally lacking across the board. So I just don't know. I don't mean this in a bad way. Maybe faith isn't the right term. I don't have a ton of confidence, just like blind confidence in either of these teams. Like, at various points of the season, there were points in season where I had really written Oklahoma off. I just fully checked out on them. I was like, nah. And there were times during the season that I was like, oh, Alabama's going on a run. Alabama is built. I mean, halfway through the season, and look, their strength of schedule really is ridiculous. They had like 4 consecutive top 25 ranked teams. So they had to go on a gauntlet and then kind of tapered off at the end. And I think the inverse happened for Oklahoma. Like, middle of the season, I was out on them. It was very lackluster with or without Mateer. It just didn't seem to be enough. And then they kind of started finding their stride. So I'm not entirely sure which version we're going to get of either of these teams. But I do think, Kalen DeBoer has had some news around him as of late. He did put out a statement quieting the rumors associated with him and Michigan. I think if they lose, maybe that conversation opens up again. I mean, like, there's just so much outside impact with games like this. that for some reason I'm just inclined to think that Bama is Bama and finds a way to pull it off. But I really like this matchup. I think it's going to be a fun way to start it.
Somebody in the playoffs is probably Michigan's coach. If it's
Ooh,
not Brian Kelly.
that is so
Um,
crazy.
Brian Kelly's still sitting there,
Yeah.
and he has ties, right? So it's either Brian Kelly or somebody in these playoffs.
Let's move. I love that we're split on that game, though. Alabama and Oklahoma will be tuned into that one Friday night. On to Saturday morning. I hate that this is the first game because, in my opinion, this is one of the best games in the entire bracket. I don't care who ends up where, and the top 4 teams are going to be great. Miami, Texas A&M is a ridiculous matchup, and I hate that it's 11 a.m. in Kyle Field, but I know that the 12th man will be active and early, and they'll be chugging mimosas at 8 a.m. getting ready for this one. I have no doubt. But this is going to be such a compelling matchup. As much as I said I did not think Miami should be in the playoff, I do think that Miami is a fantastic team, and this is going to be a very tough test. But I think they match up pretty closely. So the lines of scrimmage in this game, like it starts and ends with the trenches in this game. Offensive and defensive lines, these are freaks of nature across the board. I don't know where they're growing them. I don't know what they're feeding them. But you look across both trenches for both teams in this game, ridiculous athletes. So I love the battle at the line of scrimmage in this game. Now, Miami is 80th nationally in yards per carry. So they have not really been able to establish a run. However, Texas really struggled to run the ball this year as well, and they were able to do it against Texas A&M in the season finale. So I think that regular season finale, Texas A&M's run defense is going to have to be much more stout. They're going to have to make sure that that is not an element that opens up for Carson Beck, because lest we not forget, this is an environment that Carson Beck has been in many times, not just Kyle Field, playoffs. I mean, he's got a ton of experience when your back is against the wall, and Miami felt slighted the entire process. And so now that they're in there, there is a real motivator to prove that they should have been there, right? But I think Texas A&M, everyone, wrote them off because they lost to Texas. You're telling me that a loss right there at the end of the regular season is not going to be the very thing that makes Mike Elko fine-tune this team? Like, that could have been the very thing that kicks them into the level that they need to go on a run in the playoff. I still think Texas A&M's firepower offensively is some of the best in the nation. KC Concepcion, Marcel Reed has been efficient when, taking care of the ball. Same thing with Carson Beck. He has had turnover issues this season. In their 2 losses, which were to, no offense, much weaker teams than Texas A&M's loss to Texas, Louisville and SMU. 6 total interceptions in those 2 losses. So Carson Beck has had issues with that, and it has gotten the best of Miami. I do want to acknowledge Malachi Toney, though. That kid has been one of the most fun players in college football to watch, and he is a true freshman. Make it make sense. He has 1,246 all-purpose yards, 970 of those in the receiving game. I would love to know his numbers in yards after contact, because this guy will make you miss multiple times. He will drag defenders. I love watching this guy play. But KC Concepcion has had 1,409 all-purpose yards, 460 of those being in punt return. I think that this could be a big factor. A huge special teams play and field position could make the difference in a game like this when the trenches are as well matched as they are and you've got explosive firepower in weapons. Miami has had 20 takeaways. Keontae Scott, former Auburn Tiger, has had a great year at corner. He is questionable. He has been out with an injury. It is not official if he is going to be playing or not. That would be a big miss for them. But they also have edge rusher Ruben Bain, who's put together a great season as well. So Marcel Reed and that offensive line are going to be tested. Miami comes in with a lot of the same weaponry that Texas A&M has. So again, I anticipate this one to be incredibly close. And Carson Beck has been in situations like this before. Our friends at FanDuel have Texas A&M 3.5. And the over-under at 51.5. I'm going with the Aggies. This is a tough one.
Let's dive into this apple pie.
Apple pie?
Yes, apple pie, pecan pie, chili.
Okay.
All these things, the cookies, all these things around Christmas time that I'm on my diet and I have to just walk past.
Yeah, sure you do. All right. Go ahead.
But moving on. Cassius Howell and Bain for Miami.
Ooh,
The most dominant player in this game probably ended up being the highest pick at their position, right?
wow.
When you think about two guys going head to head in a big matchup,
Mhm.
playoffs, a lot of pro scouts going to be at this ball game.
Yeah.
You talk about, two defenses that can get after the ball, create turnovers.
Mhm.
It's the biggest thing, right? I wish this game was at night, but it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
12 o'clock Eastern, and I expect the place to be rocking still.
Oh, yeah.
But I gotta say, both of these teams played Notre Dame,
Mhm.
so that's the centerpiece, right? Both teams played Notre Dame.
Both teams beat
Miami
Notre
played
Dame.
Miami played Notre Dame at home,
Yeah,
right, and went down to the very end to beat them. Texas A&M went into Notre Dame in a hostile environment at nighttime
that's true.
and had to make a heroic play by Marcel Reed and tight end at the end of the ball game to win that game.
Right.
Which one is harder?
Mm,
A&M going to Notre Dame, right? And
for
having
sure.
to play on the road in a hostile environment at nighttime with a team that feels like in Notre Dame that we can't lose this game or it's going to put a big dent on our playoff hopes.
And it did.
And it did, right? So to me, I like A&M in this ball game. It's hard to go against Miami though because the way they create turnovers, but I have to go home field advantage in this one just because the simple fact that that defensive front, like Miami's
Freaks.
not going to be able to hear on offense.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're talking about losing your snap count ability to, not let Howell and that defense be able to tee off on your snap, where now you're silent count, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden these guys are teeing off on your left tackle and right tackle, and they're caving in that pocket. So this ball game is going to be a tough game for Miami, but at the same time, have seen Texas A&M squander down the
Yeah.
stretch at home.
Yeah.
I think they play better on the road than they have at home. I'm not sure why.
Other than Austin.
Right, they struggled in South Carolina at
Mhm.
home. You can't let that happen. They actually struggled against Auburn at home. They only won that game 16-10. That was a defensive battle. So offensively, if they can protect the football and Marcel Reed can scramble around and make plays,
Yeah.
then that gives them an opportunity to win this game at home.
Okay. I like it. I'm going with the Aggies, and I will even be as bold as to say if Texas A&M gets past Miami, I pick them against Ohio State as well, and I think they upset Ohio State in the next round.
Wow, we just skipped the whole week. Wow.
I know.
Somebody's
I'm calling it. Well, we probably won't do an episode before then, so I just wanted to put that out there. All right.
Christmas, that's right.
Last one for the SEC, obviously JMU, Oregon, also the other one. Anywho, moving on. Let's talk about Tulane versus Ole Miss. Two group of fives obviously ended up in the playoff, one of which is headed to Oxford. Two of the biggest coaching elements to this game. Obviously, Ole Miss now without Lane Kiffin. It is Pete Golding, former defensive coordinator, that is at the helm and will be head coach for this game. Charlie West Jr., offensive coordinator, was permitted to return and will call/coach this game in Oxford. And for Tulane, their head coach is also headed to Gainesville, John Sumrall, but he is being permitted to coach Tulane through the end of their season, rightfully so. I think those are very different narratives and very different situations as to why the respective athletic staffs determined how they wanted to handle the head coach situation. But this one obviously is also a matchup and seems to be a bit of a lackluster one, considering the regular season result on September 20th was a whopping 45-10. And obviously, John Sumrall is right in saying that that's a very different Tulane team September 20th than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
I would also argue that Ole Miss is a different team now than they were then too, because that was basically when we were just getting introduced to Trinidad Chambliss, and we all know what he's gone on to do since then. For Tulane in that game, it was a season low 282 total yards of offense, and the defense allowed a season most 548 yards of offense. They were just 6 of 15 on third down. That was really the Achilles heel. They couldn't get anything going. And honestly, that's not their only lopsided loss. They lost 48-26 against American Conference foe UTSA. They had 4 turnovers in that game. And another big piece of that, they had almost a 14-minute difference in time of possession. If the defense cannot get off the field and then the offense has struggles on third down, this is going to be such a boring game. I don't want that to be the case. And I think quarterback Jake Retzlaff is a very talented quarterback, and he's come along a lot more since that point. But I think Ole Miss is coming into this as one of the most motivated and fired up teams because of how much of their season was hijacked by the decisions of a head coach. They want to make a statement. The entire town of Oxford wants to make a statement. You're telling me your head coach took jabs at your fan base on his way out that y'all can't pack a stadium, and you get a playoff at home. He's no longer there. I bet that place will be standing room only. I fully expect Vaught Hemingway to be incredibly packed, incredibly loud, trying to make a statement. Maybe it's motivated by spite. Who the heck cares? They're going to want to create an insane environment. And with a group of 5 competitor coming into town, I do feel like there will be enough pomp and circumstance to get them off to a very fast start. Kewan Lacey has had a very great season, 1,279 rushing yards, and Trinidad Chambliss over 3,000 yards. He's also rushed for 470. Now, in their loss to Georgia, he was only held to like 50 yards rushing. That was the one game that you can point to that their offensive rhythm was not intact. It was a tougher environment for Trinidad. But I definitely think that the obvious in this one is probably what we'll see. Our friends at FanDuel have Ole Miss by 17.5 and the over-under at 56.5. Now, one injury piece I just wanted to update. Tulane was without their starting left tackle, Derek Graham, the first time that they played Ole Miss, and that is a very big piece for their run game, and he's back and very impactful. So I think that could be an added benefit to them, but I do like Ole Miss comfortably in this game.
Does Zebra change their stripes?
Not that I've heard, Jay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a zebra change their stripes. And this ball game, it was 45-10 the first time, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And this time, Ole Miss has a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder to play this ball game because Lane Kiffin not only left Ole Miss, he left Ole Miss for one of their rivalries. Right?
The other woman.
Yeah. So, let's not talk about that. But
we talked about it every week this season. So, good Lord.
But he has this game to me, Chambliss leadership will have to step up.
Yeah.
Because as much as Charlie Weiss Jr. is the play caller, Lane Kiffin had a lot to do with that offense.
Big time.
I mean, a lot to do with that offense. And Weiss being there, is he fully committed to being there when he's also got to recruit for LSU and try to talk to transfer portal quarterbacks at nighttime and all these different things that they're trying to do there. So last time I checked, it's hard to be great at one place if you're trying to do things at 2 different places.
It's very true.
So I think you may see a little hiccup in the Ole Miss offense, but I think as a whole, I think their defense will get after Tulane.
Yeah.
I really do. I wish Tulane and JMU could have played each other in a wild card matchup last week, and then the winner of that game comes to the playoffs. But and Sumrall is another one. Coach Sumrall, he's in 2 places at one time.
Yeah.
I know he's all in and trying to win this ball game, but they also won their conference title, and he knows like no one expects them to win this game, and he's still gonna put his best foot forward. But at the same time, he's still having to recruit his own roster.
I don't.
While he did a great thing and donated $100,000 to
how about that?
Tulane's charity. So that was great within itself for him to do that on his way out. Understand like, look, I'm gonna leave y'all something that can help y'all continue to be a better team. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to be your coach.
Yeah.
So that was a great gesture. Ole Miss is going to win this game, right? I just think it's 17.5. I'm thinking more 20.5.
Really?
Just because if they're going to be playing with so much steam and so much emotion early.
I know.
And they have something they want to prove, that it wasn't just all Coach Kiffin. They want
Yes.
to prove that, they got a lot to do with that too.
Totally agree. I agree. And I think the staff will be looking to do that as well. And it does seem like the promotion of Pete Golding to head coach did really sit well with the locker room. So you also know that they're trying to make him look good too. But it will be interesting. Is Ole Miss's approach the exact same? To your point about Lane Kiffin's involvement, how often do they go for it on fourth down? How often do they take the deep shot downfield? How many trick plays do they have? And will they feel bold enough to do it? Probably if they have a comfortable enough lead and get off to a fast start. But that was Lane's MO. And how much of that do they deviate from without him? I think that piece will be interesting. But I feel pretty comfortable in this one. I totally agree. What John Sumrall did in donating that to Tulane was so cool on his way out. And this is kind of the way you do it. You know what I mean? If you're going to bounce and go somewhere else, I think John Sumrall has been a great example of how to do it without being messy. I also low-key love the staff he is putting together. Buster Faulkner is OC. Brad White, who was formerly at Kentucky, is his DC. It looks as though our own Marcus Davis is headed there as well. So they are putting together a fantastic staff down in Gainesville. But he is very focused on trying to get Tulane a win in the first round. It would be probably an uphill battle and the most challenging one in JMU as well. I think those are pretty tough draws for those teams, but heck of a season.
They
And
will play hard though. They will play.
they
hard.
will. They're going to play their tails off, and I hope that maybe we all get shocked by this one. But it's going to be an exciting time. Friday night, obviously, Bama, Oklahoma, and then into Saturday, the other 3 games, and then we'll set up the next round with the top 4 seeds that are getting to kick back and watch this weekend and rest up. And I'm fully expecting really intense, compelling matchups, especially once we get into the second round. So that is going to do it for us this week on SEC State of Mind. We have not discussed this, but I anticipate we're taking next week off for Christmas. It will be tough to work around our schedules with different family elements. So we will probably be back in 2 weeks with another episode to break down everything having to do with the playoff and no doubt other transfer portal and coaching change moves that are imminent and on the horizon with a program like Michigan now unexpectedly open. So we'll keep you posted on all of that in a couple weeks. But until then, I hope everyone has a fantastic Christmas and happy holidays with your fam, your friends, your loved one, and enjoy a little downtime if you get the opportunity to do so, and watch some football while you're at it. So come on back in a couple weeks. If you haven't subscribed to our show, please make sure you do that already wherever you get your podcasts and our video format on Believe's YouTube channel. You can subscribe there as well. So for Jason Campbell, our entire crew over at Believe, and our sponsors at FanDuel, I'm Taylor Davis. Thank you so much for watching SEC State of Mind. Until next time.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody, and have a jolly, jolly, jolly good time. Christmas is right around the corner, and make sure that you get all your loved ones a great gift to show them your love and appreciation and really know what Christmas is all about. It's a time of giving, it's a time of sharing, it's a time of loving, and what greater, it's our Savior's birthday.
Yes,
But
also true.
also, with that being said, our good old Travis Williams is headed to Texas A&M as the linebackers coach.
Woo!
And Auburn's putting together a great staff. So is Florida. So these two collide this year. Lots happening in the SEC.
Big time.
Peace.
Love it. Peace.